Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Impact Review, October 25th. Now, let's see how well Impact has been going since Bound for Glory 2012. Sorry for the camera moving. This was a very interesting Impact compared to how we see WWE and the lackluster build. I have not seen SmackDown yet. This is their last chance before Hell in a Cell. I want to see how they've been doing since they have finished with the Bound for Glory. In the opening for the show, you have Hulk Hogan talking to Jeff Hardy. And for some reason, Jeff now has both belts with him at the same time. Instead of staying with the 2011 belt that was made for him when he was a heel, now he has the 2011 belt and the current TNA belt that they used well before that. And what was interesting about this piece wasn't about Hogan putting Hardy over. It was after he left the office. And you had Bully Ray, you had Anderson, you had James Storm, and then you had Angle. And you hear Hardy talking about each one in the background. Hardy not saying anything, but they're doing putting the audio over him, looking at each person. I thought that was a very nice touch. You don't see that often anymore, at least. And I've not seen it in a very long time, except for in shows or movies. So I thought this was a nice touch, him saying all the advantages of each person, like Bully Ray's angry, but he's still a threat. Angle's one of the best, but he could be beaten, or something like that. I did like this segment very much. Now we went into our first match of the night, which was RVD with a rematch with Zema Ion. The crowd was very good. They loved this match, surprisingly. They were rooting heavily for RVD. And a couple of people kind of booed or rooted for Zema Ion. RVD won. No surprise here. If they continue showing RVD prominently, this is a good thing. As long as they keep showing him prominently. They had not done the X Division well. And one of the staples that brought TNA to the table was the X Division, along with the six-sided ring. I saw the six-sided ring. When I first saw it, I thought it was strange as hell, but it was an intriguing thing. I wouldn't mind them, even though it's a gimmick that many people say it's over. You know what? Bring the six-sided ring back more often. Not every time of every show, but maybe every other pay-per-view. Have a special where the six-sided ring is coming in. At least before the end of the year, at least do it one more time. At least do it once, not one more time. At least do it once. It'll really make a difference. Now, the next thing we have is Double A, the greatest man that ever lived, baby. Austin Aries, supposedly listening to the Fatal 4-Way. I thought the Fatal 4-Way was going to be in the match. That's what I thought, because that's what Hogan said. But the Fatal 4-Way is actually a meeting in his office. Unless I heard it wrong, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think I did. But if I did, I apologize. But if I didn't, that makes it very confusing. Why would you state it's going to be a fatal four-way between these four men, and they're not even allowed to go in the ring? They're going in front of Hogan. I didn't get it. But Austin Aries was listening, saying whatever bits he thought, like the kissing ass. And Austin Aries said, you know what, I'm going to interview these guys afterward just to see what's going to happen. And when you got that interview, it's with the first four. Anderson supposedly was not cutting it. So Anderson's the first one to get cut. But then Double A starts messing with Anderson, and basically we have them fighting one another, and Anderson and Double A is going to have a match later in the night. So that was an intriguing thing. I was actually quite surprised. This, I think, will be the first time Anderson and Austin Aries ever went against each other. It was a refreshing thing. I didn't mind the segment at all. The next one is Kazarian and Christopher Daniels talking about getting screwed, and they want not only a rematch for the tag championships. Christopher Daniels said, I couldn't get there because of a flight problem. My buddy was treated really badly when it came to basically a three-way dance. He deserved his shot, and then I deserve, with my buddy, our shot, because, get this, there is no tag team championship at all tonight, which I'm actually quite surprised he was right. What was causing all this? I mean, if they're doing Championship Thursday, I would have thought the tag team titles were supposed to be contested. I understood later in the night the reasons why they didn't do it this time around. But Chavo and Superman come out, and before that, you have Kazarian and Christopher Daniels playing the race card, saying that they're nothing but probably illegal aliens and crap like that. Since this is kind of paralleling what is going on in politics right now, I understand it, but doesn't mean I agree with it. I mean, it didn't need to go there. Not unless they would do something like a Mexican-American kind of angle, and they're not doing that. So when Chavo and Superman came out, they said, you know what, we're not worried about it. Open night next week, come and face us. We'll be ready anytime. And they leave the ring, basically. Now, we have the segment with, the part that I found very interesting. When Jeremy Borash and Todd Kelsey, I'm sorry if I'm botching the last name. I'm not very good with last names. But essentially, with Todd and Jeremy, during the first hour, actually was a nice touch. I know some people say, that just doesn't really feel right. Actually, something different. When you see they do this in WWE, they don't. They don't let usually the B team on SmackDown do the first hour of Raw, and then the A team go and do the rest. They just keep the same commentators all the way through. I'm hoping they keep this up. This will give us a really fresh perspective on our commentary. Yes, I think that Todd was a little sloppy. Fine. But I don't think he does that often. Jeremy was known to be doing this commentation before Taz came in, I believe. I could be wrong. But Jeremy was doing all right. He had good energy. And with the crowd being a part of it, it made it even good throughout the night. So before Taz and Mike took over, I thought this was good. And then it kind of was a little sloppy when they had to do the transition. You could say that essentially they didn't have to see them leave, but I actually thought it was something new, at least this time. Let us see the commentary team switch places. It would have been nice to actually see them sit and get up, but already seeing the 2-hour team take over, the new hour team take over from the older hour team, I thought that was a nice touch. It was a little sloppy, like I said, especially when they couldn't. That was silly. But it looked like it was actually not scripted. It looked a little awkward. They were actually kind of surprised about it. And I didn't mind it. This was nice. I liked this. It was different. Now, we have the... let me make sure I'm not missing anything, ladies and gentlemen. The Matt Morgan... I forgot about the Zema Ion and RVD segment. Matt Morgan and Joey Ryan... Well, Matt Morgan's the one who did the carbon footprint. He takes out RVD, just wipes him out, and Joey Ryan holds the belt over. And he roughly says, we need to have a little bit of sleazy in here. I don't mind having this gold around my waist. And later in the night, when they interviewed them, Joey Ryan did a good job. He basically said, I want that championship belt. I'm going to do what's necessary to get it. And I know that sleazy's coming to TNA. To the X Division. And Matt Morgan, he said again, Hogan, you asked for it, and now you got it. Wait until you see what I do. Not in those many words, but that's his type of attitude. Matt Morgan has a lisp a little bit, so that's his way of talking. If I'm right, he has a little tiny bit of a lisp. No problem. The segment wasn't very long. I don't think they have enough. Well, I think they need a little bit of work being together because they're still acting separate. Nothing wrong with it, but they do need a little bit of work. So I'll leave it at that. Now the second Hogan triple threat now from the Fatal 4-Way. You still got Anderson, you have Angle, and you got no, sorry, not Anderson. You have Storm, you have Angle, and you have Bully Ray. and both of them are pretty much saying the same thing. Bully Ray is divided. He shouldn't be in this because he needs to go after his brother. Hogan faced him, and I thought the person throughout the entire thing who had the best talk was still Bully Ray. Because Bully Ray, and this seems to be going with the storyline, Bully Ray basically said it like this: I want to know what's going on. You want to know what's going on. If I'm going to be in this championship match or not, I'm still going after my brother. I'm going to find out. I'm going to the ring. And Hogan said, okay, I'm just going to have to cut you loose. He said, no problem. I'm going to face him. So it wasn't a bad segment. I liked it. Now, let me see. Okay, here's something I was actually surprised about. Samoa Joe versus Robbie. And I thought, oh, come on. When I hear the music hitting, I'm thinking Robbie E. No. And then I realized it was Robbie T. That is not a step much up for Robbie E. I'm going to say this clearly, ladies and gentlemen. Robbie T, back around 2009 and 2010, held that TV title. Before, I believe, when Immortal came up and Fortune and basically AJ Styles had taken the belt. Honestly, really need to separate those two. I am sick of them. You're not getting anywhere with Robbie E. Robbie T, who has a great physique, who could have still gotten his title back. He could be doing something. He's not. And I feel really bad about it because of how the match was. Because Robbie T didn't do a bad job. With Samoa Joe, it was nice. It was a short match, but the way they both moved in there was not bad. And then seeing Robbie T do a spin kick, seriously, something that many big guys don't usually do anymore. It's very rare to see a big guy do some really athletic moves like that. Not saying that he isn't stiff as a board, but he has at least some decent flexibility that he can do a decent spin kick. But still, Samoa Joe did 3 or 4 rear naked chokes and then finally beat him. I'm hoping now this ends the T and the E saga. The E.T. saga. It sounds better, dude. That sounds good. The Robbie E.T. saga. I hope it's over. Give Samoa Joe a more interesting challenge. This is what I'm waiting for. Now we have the pre-tape of the fight, the Clubhouse. I almost said Fight Club, sorry. The Clubhouse with Devon and Aces and 8. And now we find out there's not going to be any more unmasking. And that made me think of one thing. No, 2 things, sorry. One, either these guys are not staying very long. They're keeping the storyline like this long enough to get it done, and then these guys are going to disappear. Or there's going to be a large unveil later in a couple of months, where everyone's going to be revealed all at once. I'm guessing the first one. I don't think everyone from Aces and 8 is going to stay very long. I think they're going to do the storyline to its conclusion, to a point of conclusion, and then all these guys are going to disappear. I don't think they have contracts after it's over. Maybe 1 or 2, maybe. But actually, I do not think it's going to last long. So Devon said, like I said no one's taking off their mask, and he said now we have to pick somebody as our next victim. The one who looked like the representative of Aces and 8 threw the dart at the board, and you see a whole bunch of wrestlers that are there, and I think Angle was the one in the middle. He threw it, and they said they got their man. So this was a very interesting segment. It wasn't very long, so that made it good. As long as Aces and 8 isn't on long, it's okay. If it's like a Mortal where they give too much time, it kills it. So I know a lot of people just beginning to get tired of Aces and 8, but they're keeping it limited, at least for the moment. We don't know if they're going to increase it later, so let's leave it at that. Let's see here. Pre-tape with Tara and her man, the boy toy Jesse. Essentially, they talked about Jesse, they talked about Tara, she winning the championship, they talked about a little more of actually Tessmacher. Tessmacher got a lot of prominent time in the pre-tape, but then they went to that, and then afterward, when they were in front of Brooke Hogan, and now that I had a chance to see how Brooke Hogan really looked, You know, I never really did notice how nice looking Brooke Hogan is. She got a nice damn body. She looks good. She's a thick woman. She's not something super skinny. She's she's like a dad, a big woman that's actually well built, which is actually quite nice to look at. Don't need to always look at a skinny woman. But anyway, Tessmacher and the Terror match was set up, and it was understood for Jesse that ODB has an eye on him, and he got a little scared about it. So when the actual match came around, through all the matches throughout the night, I think that match was a bit flat. It felt flat because the crowd was not totally into it. It was a good match. It was not that bad. Terror retains her championship. Jesse interferes by pulling the ring rope down and then throwing Tessmacher back in. And you got Terror winning with the, what was it called, Widow's Peak? Okay, not bad. When Brooke comes out and you can see that nice looking body, which is not bad, ladies and gentlemen, she says, you know what, open fight night is next week. We have ODB who already called me and said she wants someone. She wants to get a piece of somebody. ODB against Jesse. I said, oh no. No. They're not going to throw Jesse in this now. I thought at first, and I still stick with this is supposed to help bring back Eric Young. I could be wrong, ladies and gentlemen, but I really believe Eric Young is going to show up on Impact next week, not during the match, but maybe afterward. That's what I feel. If he does appear during the match, something's going to go on where basically Eric Young is going to start messing with Jesse. So this would basically be his way of being able to start into TNA with a feud. Oh, man. I know this might be the best way to get him started because they really don't have anybody to really go with him. He has no storyline, but doing it this way? Seriously? It's different. It's better than what we've been seeing in WWE, so I'll take it for what I'm getting. I mean, still, this is still more, the Knockouts is way more interesting than WWE, ladies and gentlemen. I know we're talking about, this is not a great storyline at all with ODB, with Eric Young, with Terra, having them mixed together in it, but still it's something better than what we've been getting. So I'll take it as that. Now the Austin Aries and Double A match. The Austin Aries versus Anderson match. I don't know why I called it a Double A. I think asshole. I forgot to say AH. Sorry, AH. You've got the Double A against the AH. The Austin Aries against the asshole. Actually was a very nice, well done match. Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, if you saw that match, the crowd was really into it. And so was I. I actually enjoyed it. It was a bit short. It was. But I was actually quite surprised at the point when it was reaching near the end when brass knucks were put down the trunks of a Mr. Anderson. Seriously? You got Austin Aries having to cheat like that to win? Oh, come on. Oh. I mean, he's playing a good heel. But I still feel like, just like the Off the Rope Show and the Slug Daddy, he's actually, they're fighting against the grain with him. He's more better as a face. But it's understandable. They can't have Austin Aries and Jeff Hardy as faces. They got to have a really good heel and good face. And even though Austin Aries is kind of fighting the grain when it comes to heels, he can still play a good heel. So Anderson got the trunks filled with brass knucks. The match reached a point where you have eventually Austin Aries grabbing another piece of brass knucks from his trunks and takes out Anderson and then does the his signature move, I forgot the name of it, the Subchancery, I believe. I'm pronouncing it wrong, I'm sorry. But the Subchancery is a good move, and Anderson was completely out. So Austin Aries wins. And I'll leave it at that. It was still a great match, even though that bit kind of dampened it for me, because I didn't want to see Austin Aries start being that type of a heel. I wanted him to beat people clean, just like Angle has done in the past. He can talk trash to you, he can be the worst heel, and he can kick your butt. That's what I wanted, but I didn't get it. I'm hoping it doesn't end up like a Robert Roode. I'll leave it at that. We have the Joseph Park with Hogan, and Joseph Park basically says, I want in. I want aces and eights. And basically Hogan said, look, I don't want to put you in that condition. Joseph Park gives a little paper that basically says, you're exempted. TNA and you. Just give me someone. So Hogan's going to take an advisement. It wasn't a bad segment, and I'll leave it at that. Now who is that guy? Let me see. I'm trying to find him right now. Gut Check with Christian York. Sorry, it took me a minute to look for him. Christian York, who used to work with one of the guys from the M&Ms, not John Morrison, his other partner. I believe Joey Ryan. No, not Joey Ryan. What is it? Joey Mercury, he was known as. Haven't seen him in a long time. And it was a surprise to see someone who worked with him. And I have this feeling that this guy looks and could be a very good member of TNA's X Division, if they keep him. So next week we're going to see him and see how well he's worked. He said he worked in the business 16 years. And he said it very clearly, you know what, I'm not getting any younger. This is my best shot to get somewhere. I was here before. I'm taking another shot again. I don't mind him. He gives off a good possibility. So this is going to be a very interesting thing for Gut Check. Hopefully they'll let him get in. So now we have the Bully Ray segment. This was a very good segment when Bully Ray got in the ring, screamed for his partner, his brother, his Devon. Devon comes to the ring with aces and eights from the crowd again, and this time they got like a black carpet, not a red carpet, a black carpet. Nice touch. I wouldn't mind them doing this every time. I know a lot of people say, no. Oh, my cat almost hit her head. No, this sucks. This ain't going to work. It does. This actually is better than what we usually do. I know they're on the roster now, supposedly. Now they have full access, but does not mean they have to be a part of the TNA roster, even though they're forced to go into the ring. So I'm going to see it in that respect, even though it would make some sense for them coming down from the back. But coming from outside is different. And then the in-ring segment, and then when Bully Ray clearly said, when we went up against the Motor City Machine Guns, and we were going to retire 23-time champions, and we used the 3D, and it failed. Not in ECW, not in WCW, and not in WWE. And I thought that was a nice touch. Even though they're in another rival promotion, they're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to mention where they come from. So they give the respects to the fans and the smart marks. Not just saying that we did this, it's never been done outside of TNA. He didn't say that. He said it across the entire board, which is true. I like that bit of honesty. And the bit he said that when we lost, and I feel bad, that when it came down to it, and you said simply, don't worry about it. Why are you getting upset? We're rich. Who cares about it? That kind of makes some sense for the storyline. I know many people would say that he became evil because he was selfish, and he did. He did. But it plays into the current storyline because of how it had been almost 2 years ago. It actually makes some sense. I know that you could say that, no, that doesn't make any sense. Bully Ray just acted evil, and then you saw Devon acting really nice and kind and everything. True. But if this is going part of the storylines of Aces and Eights, you can say it makes some sense. He had to go down and out. He had to have his partner, who he's known for 15 years to 17 years, treat him like shit. Sorry for my language, ladies and gentlemen. And then he has to go to the only people that have his back. That makes sense. Now, Bully Ray and Devon are going to have a match next week, supposedly. I'd rather see this at Turning Point. I'm hoping that Open Fight Night next week will end with nothing happening. I know it sounds like, wait a minute, we're going to have a match with those two again? Please. No. It's a little different this time, ladies and gentlemen, because of how both of them have been structured You have a Devon who was a face, being the television champion, and now turned heel. And then you have the heel, really well built, who's now getting over as a face, even if he's still doing heel stuff. It's different for these two characters because they don't usually do this, neither one of them. Devon and Bully Ray don't always do this. So I think this is a nice difference. So, let me see. Anything else? No. Okay. I'm making sure I don't miss anything, ladies and gentlemen, because you deserve the best. I want to make sure that I do not forget anything because you do deserve it. Okay, the last match. When we found out that Angle was going to be the winner, you got Angle versus Hardy. Match of the night. It was good. People loved it. People were screaming at the top of their lungs. And it didn't sound like canned heat. You could see it in the background. How much people were cheering. So if they pumped any canned heat in, I don't think it was that much. Or not canned heat, a lot of pots. Yelling and screaming. Essentially, the match was really good. And when you saw Angle spitting up blood by the time he had a swanton or two done on him, you wonder if he actually hurt himself or not. You never know. Hopefully he didn't. It might have been just a gel thing with spit, with blood, And Hardy wins. He still has both titles, at least until Austin Aries came in, took the title from him and said, I'm going to go after you at Turning Point, and I'm going to keep the old original title I was carrying. Walks out. The last thing we heard and saw was Angle getting his ass whipped by Aces and Eights and Devon hitting him in the stomach. And that was the person we know from the dartboard, ladies and gentlemen. He was the one that got hit. So how is this show? C+ show. Honestly, I know people say, come on, you got to be kidding me. There was too much Aces and Eights put into this thing. Yes, that's true. But they made sure they structured the show quite well compared to what they've been doing over the last... Look, comparing Aces and Eights to Immortal, I think they've done a better job. So I give this a C+. It's much better than what they've done over the last 6 to 8 months. Way better. With Aces and Eights, yeah, it can feel a little overwhelming. It's going to reach a point if they go too far with it. But at this moment, it's like near the edge of maybe becoming overwhelming and nobody wants to deal with it. So it's just at the edge of it, but not going over yet. They are making sure everything else is getting done. So I hope you enjoyed the Zane View. Please subscribe and comment. You take care. I'll get to my SmackDown review as soon as possible. You have a good night.